Let's talk a little bit about variables. We have used this type of variable, which is an int, and it can contain a whole number. And when we create a variable, first we write the type of variable and then come up with a name, for example a. And then we can just finish like that. We don't have to enter a value for the variable at the moment, or if we want to set a value, we can just enter, for example, 7 and then finish with a semicolon. Variable names, you can use pretty much what you want. You cannot use only name like a number 3, that's not allowed. But for example A3 is fine. And so let's use A, and then we can create another variable b equals 8. Instead of doing like this, declaring two variables on two rows, you can do it on the same row, on one row. So we're going to do it like this: int a equals 7, comma b equals 8. This means that all the variables on this row, they're going to be integers. It's going to be an int, okay? Let's use these variables in a calculation. Console, press enter, dot, and all the different functions in this library of functions comes up in a list. Right line, press enter, bracket, and then let's type a plus b. So this is going to be text equals, and then plus to add the value, and let's type a plus b, and then finish. Remember to add this line as well, a read key, so we can have a chance to see the result. Okay, let's debug this and run the program. So what happens here? A plus b equals 78. Well, that's not correct. Why is it not correct? A is 7 and b is 8, so it should be 15. So basically what happens is, when we use plus here, when we're writing some kind of text to the console, this plus sign just means that we're just going to add the value, and we're just going to add, for example, this text string, and then write it out, the value in A, and then write out the value in B. So this plus doesn't work the same way as we used to. So how can we do this? Well, let's use another variable c, and then we can do a calculation here. C equals a plus b, and now we can write out the value of c. A plus b equals 15, so that's correct. And of course it works the same way with minus. Just write it out like that. A minus b equals -1, and then we have multiplication. A times b is 56. 7 times 8, 56 seems to be correct. Let's try division. Run the program, and the result is 0. This is not correct. Why is it not correct? So a over b, 7 over 8. It should be 0 point something, but not 0. So here's an exception that we need to know. One thing is that is different when we're working with numbers in a computer compared to on a piece of paper is that when we're working with ints, they're just they can just contain whole numbers. So if the result is going to be 0 point something, it's just going to take the 0, and that's why we have the result 0. So how can we do this? Well, we can use the other type of variable, a double, and let's see if the result is any different. Even though we have whole numbers, a double can contain decimals, and C is a double, and it should contain all the type of all the answer we want. So let's see, the answer is 0.875. Very good. So we have ints and doubles. How about if we want to, maybe we want only one, or let's say 2 decimals. How can we do to just round this number, and we only want 2 decimals? Then we can use a round function, and we find this function in the math. Dot round. We can find round here, and then we have different type of round functions, but we're gonna use, I'm scrolling down with the arrow keys, decimal, D, and then int decimals. Okay, so the first one is going to be the actual variable, and then comma, and then it says rounds a decimal value to a specific number of fractional digits, the number of decimal places. Okay, so let's say we want 2 decimals. So we're going to write out the result, which is in the variable C, and we would like to round it to 2 decimal. We would like to have 2 decimals, and we have to make sure that the number of brackets are the same. 1 left bracket, 1 left, and then 1 right and 1 right. Okay, this is okay. Let's see the results. 0.88. Okay, that's correct. If we would like to use for example, there's an operator to find out the remainder. Let's do like this. We're gonna use whole numbers again, so make these into ints. B over A, and what should be the result? Well, let's try it and see. Oops, we have to write it out, of course. Plus C. We have to write the variable to see what's inside of the variable. B over A equals 1. Well, it's going to be 1 point something, so it's going to be a remainder as well. How can we get the remainder? Well, actually, there's a way to find out the remainder. And I'm just going to write C equals B, and then this sign, A. And let's put that into another variable. I'm going to create a variable D. And then we can write out the text with remainder and the remainder is going to be in the variable d. So before we check the result, 8/7 is going to be one whole number and then the remainder 1. And it seems to work fine. b/a is equal to 1 with remainder 1. So this sign is called the modulus operator, and it's if you want to find out the remainder. Maybe you would like to use the let's say you want to use pi in a calculation, and instead of writing it, let's erase these, create a double. D equal, instead of writing 3.1415 etc., there's a way to get pi with a couple of decimals. So how can we do it? Well, we're going to use the math library again, math dot, and then we have pi as a constant number here, and we're just going to write like this, and then let's write it out. Let's write out what's in D and see what's happening. Pi equals 3.14159261. Okay, it seems to work fine. Do you remember how we could do if we want to use only, let's say, 5 decimals? Well, we're going to use the round function in the math library. So instead of writing just D, I'm going to do like this, leave a little space. Instead of just writing out D or what's inside of the variable D, we're going to use math dot, let's see, math dot round, and then we're going to use this. The first one is the variable, and then the second parameter is how many decimals we want, and I'm going to write 5, and we need one more bracket. Let's see. So now we should have pi with 5 decimals. 3.14159. So it seems to work fine. Also, if you want to use sine or cosine or some other mathematical function, for example, let's just do like this. Try and see if we can find sine. Sine and brackets, and then we're just going to enter a value, and it has to be measured in radians. Okay, so 1 radian, and let's see what sine of 1 radian is. And here's the value. And as you can see, we can find some other functions as well. We can find power with indices, min, max, logarithms, floor functions, cosine, a ceiling function, absolute value, sin, tan, etc. So we can find some of the most common functions in the math library.